What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and it's that time of the month once again where we go ahead and look at the tier list again. So this is actually kind of weird because I was streaming earlier today and people were commenting like, when's the next tier list going to be coming out? Completely forgot that, you know, the next month has already started. So in this tier list from last month, there has only been one additional character added, which was Legend Capone, which is just out right now on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global, and we already have full confirmation that Legend Zephyr will be coming like literally next week. So he isn't added to this tier list just yet, but obviously when we get next month's tier list, he'll be added, and if there's any other legend that gets released, that will also be added. So we'll have to wait and see, you know, if there is going to be anything else released, either Legend Carrot or maybe a global first, or, you know, maybe Neko Inu gets released. We don't even know the full timeline of stuff right now. It's a little bit hard, you know, to really guess when stuff is going to be releasing right now, but hopefully, you know, we do get full confirmation as to what's coming out sooner rather than later, so we can, you know, prep for that. But anyways, let's get into the tier list. So once again, we have these little indicators down the bottom. Characters in each tier are ordered by character ID. There might be a character ID that's like not done correctly, but I've pretty much tried to order the characters by their release of the unit coming out, so that's why they're in their specific order. They're not ordered, but you know, V2 Law is not stronger than Rayleigh in any specific circumstance, so that's the only reason why they're listed like they are. Also, this was updated today, the 3rd of May, as of me recording the video. Now, I've got rid of the rainbow border from last month's tier list, and I've changed it to arrows. So, if there is a red arrow pointing upwards, it means that that character is likely to move up to the next tier, or has, you know, the factors to reach up to the next tier. And then obviously that would be the opposite for the blue arrow. So if there was a blue arrow on, let's say, Brook, it means that likely I'm kind of thinking about putting Brook out of tier 3. That's what I would say if I had those arrows on the character. And there are a couple of arrows that you guys are going to be seeing throughout this tier list. And also, if there is a character I just don't know that much about, I'll put the to be confirmed on it. But no character in this month's tier list has the to be confirmed. So with all that out of the way, now we can get into the tier list. Okay, so now we can get into the tier list, and we have tier 3. So with tier 3, there have been a couple of changes from last month, namely Gil Tesoro. He moved down previously from tier 2 all the way down to tier 3, and the main reason for that is because his captain effect is just so weak compared to a lot of the other captains that are in his same tier or above, and we already know how good his special is. Like, there's no doubting how good his special is. It's the same as Garp, right? Garp has one of the best specials in the game along with Tesoro, but it's the fact that his captain effect is lacking severely, and that's the same with Rayleigh as well. You can put him in the same book as well. His captain effect just really isn't as good as some of the other characters that you can have access to. I mean, if you look at another low health captain that is released relatively recently, was Quick Whitebeard, and he goes to show how a low health captain really should be working. It is so strong, up to 4.5 at 1 HP. It's bonkers, man. You can get some crazy stuff with that. However, you know, with the release of the Strength Log Ace, that actually does help out Rayleigh teams a little bit if you want to be building like a free spirit based team with Rayleigh, because obviously Ace allows you to get to 1 HP, which helps out significantly with Rayleigh's effects. But overall, I don't think Rayleigh is just that good of an option nowadays in terms of what he can provide. I think that Quick Law is still pretty solid. The fact that, you know, Cerebral has still got some good characters, and he can definitely abuse some of the Cerebral effects. And as a captain, 3 times base isn't really that great compared to a lot of the other characters on this list, but he does give you decent tankiness with the recovery that you get per turn, and his special ability is always going to be useful. Legend Brook is here kind of like the anomaly where he has the revive effect, which is always kind of cool, and he is able to beat a lot of content in the game. He's just extremely slow, and he just very specific characters for him to work effectively, and I think that Brook doesn't really deserve to go to the tier 2 positioning at all. So that's really all the things I really wanted to talk about with tier 3. Nothing really that major, but I did make Gil Tesoro go down, and I think that's a pretty fair spot to put him in. Then we move on to tier number 2. So with tier 2, there have definitely been changes here. You guys can see them straight away. V2 Doflamingo, I moved him down from tier 1. Just with all the release of recent stuff that has been coming out, I do not believe V2 Doflamingo deserves tier 1 positioning at this current point in time. Once we get the release of Bato and Cavendish, I would likely put Doflamingo back up to tier 1. But as it stands right now, I do not believe he deserves the tier 1 positioning. He can still clear a lot of content in the game. There's no denying that. But there is a lot of content that also does directly counter what he tries to do, which is quite annoying, and that's why I would put him here. But he's probably the strongest of tier 2, I would easily say. We've got Robin in here and Nami. They're still very solid. I actually have used both of these characters in more recent content. Actually, against Colosseum Oven, I'm using a Gear 4 team that has both of these characters in it, because with Colosseum Oven, you have to do some severe tanking, and, well, Robin provides that. And also you have a Nami for really good damage potential. So both of these characters have their uses. And as a captain, you have Robin being a Cerebral Captain, 3.25 with very good damage reduction as well as very good recovery from recovery orbs. But then you got Nami, who's a really high damaging captain, but only for one color, and that color does have a weakness in Dex. So, I think that it's pretty fair to leave them in tier 2. I do not think they're as good as the other legends that we have in tier 1, where there's some crazy legends in there. Katakuri did make a move from last tier list. He was previously in tier 1. I moved him down to tier 2 just because with all of the stuff that has been coming out over the past month, I literally haven't used him for anything. Although I love to use him and I want to use him wherever I can, it's just not really a good option to use him for a lot of content, because with the way that Katakuri is built, you do have to stagger your damage, where you can't just go ahead and deal like a massive punch of like 10, 15, 20 million damage in one hit with Katakuri. I'm sure there are teams that can do it, I don't deny that, but if you're trying to counter a lot of the boss's debuffs, bring utility characters, and get around all the different effects, that's kind of hard to do with Katakuri, and you have to really stagger your damage, as I said, which makes him definitely nowhere near as viable as some of the other legends in tier 1 and the tier above. So that's why I've moved him down to tier 2. But, saying that, Katakuri, we already know how good he still is, and he still is able to do a lot of content. Very similar to Doflamingo. He can do a lot of shit, but he just isn't as an optimal type of option compared to a lot of other characters. Shiki was the same as last month. I'm keeping him in tier 2 positioning. I feel like this is like the perfect positioning for him, because I don't think he's as good as tier 1, but he's way better than tier 3. So I think that that's pretty much the only reason why he's here. I just don't think he's as good as the other tier 1 legends. V1 Sanji is an interesting one, because I was really thinking about it, and he can do a lot of stuff, especially because you can partner him with his V2 counterpart and do some really cool stuff with that. But I do think that tier 2 is still a pretty fair place for him, because as a captain with his special, he doesn't really provide all that much for your team. I mean, he gives you some orbs, and he provides fixed damage, and he gives you a combo boost, but the combo boost isn't that significant. The matching orbs is nice, but it's not a full board. You only get, or if he's the captain, you only get 3 matching orbs, so half your team will get matching orbs, and the combo boost is okay. I think that the combo boost is definitely better than his previous version, where he just gave a type boost. But I do think that tier 2 is just a very fair spot for him, because his V2 counterpart is still much better in my personal opinion. Legend Frankie, this is also one that I was also thinking about, like, should he be in tier 1? I don't think he really should be at this current point in time, because he's, like, the reason why I wouldn't put him in tier 1 is because I basically compared him to Capone, and Capone is, like, miles better in like every single way compared to Legend Frankie, because they don't have similar effects with their captain action thing, where they have the General Frankie or the Big Father, and those specific captain actions do have very similar effects. But Capone's is actually better, because number 1, you can't be blown away, number 2, you tank all burn damage, number 3, I'm not too sure about the poison damage, you might be able to tank through that. But number 4, it lasts for as long as you want, or as long as until, the health bar dissipates. That's crazy, man. Like Frankie's still very good, though. You can't deny how good he is. He has a really great special as well, providing a 2.25 type boost to 4 separate classes, which is awesome. And then moving on to Kung Fu Luffy. I do think that Kung Fu Luffy has a great special. He has a very, very usable captain effect that is able to clear a lot of content. And, just comparing his captain effect is way better than every single tier 3 character. So I think that along with his very good special, should be a very good solid tier 2 positioning. And then we have V2 Lucci, who was previously in tier 3, and in the previous list as well, I actually had with V2 Lucci, he was like cut in half with his regular version and his 6-star plus version. I think that his 6-star plus version is now just miles better, just because of all of the shooter characters we have now. We have Treasure Mode Hancock, we have the Capone batch, and there's going to be more coming, and he's just going to be getting better and better over time. So that's my full breakdown of the tier 2 positioning, and kind of just my reasonings as to why they deserve to be in this positioning. But now we get to the largest tier on this tier list, which is going to be tier 1. We have 12 separate legends in the tier 1 position right here. So with tier 1, we have a lot of characters that do have these red arrows, and as I said, these are like the characters that are kind of like the best of tier 1. Now let's start off with NL. NL, I'm not really too sure, I haven't really looked into it, but I'm almost certain that he'll be able to clear Coliseum Oven. I just personally haven't looked for it, because, you know, I don't really give two shits about NL, to be honest, but I do think that NL is still a very solid character, still a very, very good option to choose if you are deciding, you know, which character should I use to build a team with. NL is still a very, very good option for that, and the fact that he has amazing subs to use as well, because he obviously is a rainbow captain, but more often than not, you'd be using characters like version 1 Law with his amazing special ability, and characters like healers like Marco and Shirahoshi. They work very, very well with NL, of course, and, you know, just because of the ability alone of version 1 Law, that enables NL to clear lots of very difficult content, and I do think that he still deserves tier 1, because I think that in terms of overall usability, I think that his usability in his own team is much more usable compared to a lot of the characters in tier 2. And, you know, as a sub, he does have some usage as a sub. You know, you don't have to run NL as the captain, but, you know, it is obviously going to work out in your favor a lot more if you are opting to run NL as the captain with the very, very optimal subs. Lucy still demolishing content. I'm pretty sure everything that came out in this month he's been able to beat, which is very awesome to see. Nothing really much has changed with Lucy. And then with Judge as well, he's pretty much beaten everything that's come out as well. Still very, very good. And then we have Luffy and Ace, which I do think are one of the best characters in tier 1, and I don't really like it when people complain like, why isn't Lace in tier 0? I do think that he's good. Like, he's literally the best in tier 1. I just think that the characters that are in tier 0 are just far superior, in my personal opinion. Obviously, this is a tier list based on my opinion. So I do think that Luffy and Ace are one of the best characters in the game. They can still do lots of content, but they are still quite finicky in the way that they work. They're not perfect characters. In my personal opinion, I'm not really a humongous fan of the captain swap regular abilities of Luffy and Ace's captain effects. Like, their base captain effects are very meh in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of Ace relying on orb matching, and with Luffy, he's only a base 3 times booster, but the damage reduction's really, really good. But obviously when they combine, they're amazing. They're 4.25 attack when you got a matching orb, and with his special, he gives you matching orbs essentially. But I just do not like the normal captain effects of Luffy and Ace themselves, and that's one of the main reasons why I put them in tier 1. But overall, they're still really, really good. I have to stress that to you guys. Like, they're still really, really good. And then we've got V2 Shanks, who, again, very, very good, but I do think that the characters in tier 0 are just that little bit more powerful in comparison in what they are able to achieve in the game. V2 Kuzan, I just pulled him recently, which was awesome. I was really happy about that because he, as I said in many tier lists, he's going to be getting better and better as more characters get released, and he's awesome. V2 Kuzan's awesome. He can do a lot of content. A lot of people don't opt to use him as a captain, but if there is stuff that has strength bosses with int bosses, he destroys it, absolutely destroys it, because he himself, he is a character that as a captain will provide a type boost and full board orb manipulation for your team, which means that your subs have a lot more freedom. You can have a lot more freedom with choosing your characters, which is awesome, and that's one of the main reasons why I like him so much. Version 2, Sanji, he's great, one of the highest damage potentials in the entire game. Just he has a lot of drawbacks, and that's the main reason why he's in tier 1, not tier 0. If he didn't have the effect where his special was based above 50%, if he was just always a 2.25 times attack when you activate the special, and also if as a captain he didn't reduce your matching orb rate chance when you go ahead and lose your health, I think that he would be nearly, like, almost a perfect character. I'm a big fan of V2 Sanji, but his drawbacks are ridiculous because there's literally pieces of content that literally will counter him directly, which is quite annoying. And I think that the characters in tier 0 have little to no flaws whatsoever, and that's the reasoning why I'd put him in tier 1. Big Mom is here as well. Now, previously in my past 2 lists, I've had Big Mom as a to be confirmed on tier 0. After seeing content be released, I do not think she's a tier 0 character. She's a very, very solid tier 1 character, but in my opinion, there is no way that she is in tier 0 at this current point in time. Just because if there is a boss that is quick, she's going to struggle with it. Like, that's just a fact. And that's the same with Legend Nami. You know, Legend Nami, if there is a boss that is strength, she is literally going to struggle with it if she is a captain. And then as a sub, she has, like, little to no viability in my personal opinion as a sub. Like, there wouldn't be a team that I build and then put Big Mom as a sub because she gives herself a boost. That's just kind of silly. There's literally no reason why I would need to use Big Mom as a sub. And then moving on from that, we have version 2 Jinbei. Version 2 Jinbei, obviously the newest addition, or one of the newest additions to this tier list was from last month. I think tier 1 is just the perfect spot for him. He's nowhere near a tier 0 positioning, because if there is a boss that is a strength boss, because that's going to be quite annoying, because with the Jinbei team, you cannot have a quick unit on your team, and also if the boss will be Psy. Psy and strength bosses are going to be one of the big downfalls of version 2 Jinbei. So if that is a situation that you come up against, he's not really going to be a good option for that. But any other color, you know, if you come up against a dex boss, you have strength for that. If you come up against a quick boss, you have dex for that. And then against int, you have Psy. But against the other two colors, he is going to struggle to get some super effective damage, so you can't even use color affinity because that doesn't help out at all. Just Jinbei does have a couple little flaws, and also you will only get the 1.75 times attack boost most of the time when you're using the Jinbei team. But as I said in my showcase video, if you guys haven't seen that, make sure you go check the video out with version 2 Jinbei. But a lot of the time, you can actually get away quite easily with just the 1.75 times attack boost. And it's really good, because on top of that, he also provides a 20% health cut to all enemies. So, you know, version 2 Jinbei definitely has a lot of things going his way. But I do think that team building for him is quite annoying, and he's kind of just like a different version of Lucy in a way. And then we get to the big three. We've got Capone, we've got Sabo, and we've got Whitebeard. All three of these characters, man, I love these characters so goddamn much. Capone, I wish I pulled him, man. I really wish I pulled Capone. He is probably one of my favorite legends in the game right now, just in terms of what he can provide for your team. You know, the big father effect, we just talked about it earlier with Frankie, and what that can do. Some crazy shenanigans can happen with that. And also with that, he's also his crew's own type booster. As a captain, he's a base 3.75, lots of health, and also gives you beneficial orb enable. There's not much about this character that is bad. Like, legitimately, there isn't much that makes him bad. I think the only thing that's kind of like a drawback for him is, I think to make his captain action work, I think you need 6 characters on your crew. I think that's what it is. I think there is something to do with six characters or 6 shooters on your crew to get him to work effectively, and that's like the only bad thing about him. But everything else is just straight up monstrosity. He just decimates content. There's so many characters now that can help out the shooter squads, namely this Sabo character, who is not only a chain locker, a 3 times chain locker, but also an orb booster for fighters, shooters, and free spirit characters. So if you have that deck Sabo and you have that Capone, you're in very, very good stead. And as well as this V2 Lucci being a 2 times color affinity unit, and he also reduces paralysis, he reduces enemies defense. There's really cool shenanigans you can do with him as well. And I mean, even talking about Kuzan earlier as well, where you can build a pretty decent shooter team with this Kuzan, this Lucci, and then also Zephyr that's coming out during this month as well. You got a really good quick and size shooter team building here, and also you can use like an int strength shooter team with a character like Capone and version 2 Akainu, because version 2 Akainu is an orb booster, and you have this character here who is a type booster. So there's really cool shenanigans you can build with colors and classes combining into one, and I just love this character so much. And that big father effect is really nice, as we've seen with Neo Whitebeard, and how that can counteract death damage and just other massive hits that you're going to be taking. And that's partly the reason why I think that he is very, very close to tier 0. Very, very close. And then with Sabo, we already know how good he is. I've talked about him previously in other tier lists, but there obviously is the main drawback is that if you don't kill something, you just lose all your attack stacks, go down to a 3 times base boost, which isn't always the end of the run. You can definitely still make it through with a 3 times boost. This isn't like the original Kuzan, but still, you know, that is a main drawback to this character. And also one of the things I really don't like is the fact that, yeah, I think he's a fighter shooter, but he also boosts free spirit, which I think is nice, but it means that you can't use free spirit related support with this character. I'm not really too sure if that's really a big drawback. I don't own this Sabo personally, but, you know, I'm just stating out some of the things that I've noticed when I've looked at characters, and that's just the only real things I have to say about Sabo. But he definitely has flaws, and that's why I'd put him in tier 1. And the last character in tier 1 is this quick Whitebeard. He continues to show why he is the big daddy himself. Like, this is Big Father? No, this is the Big Father of the One Piece Treasure Cruise universe. He is destroying content with that 4.5 attack boost that you can get with that log ace that I mentioned before. Some of the most impossible looking content that we thought was never going to be beaten. With the Neo Whitebeard, we really weren't too sure where it was going to be coming out from. We didn't know what characters were going to be good against it. We didn't really have much heading into it. But quick Whitebeard, he was able to do it. It's pretty crazy, man. The full powerhouse quick wipe bid was able to do it, and it's really, really impressive to see. And, you know, we say, you know, a lot about the powerhouse stuff, but, you know, he is also a striker booster as well, and there are some pretty good strikers that you can still have access to, but, again, one of the main flaws, or, well, there's actually two main flaws that I don't like about this wipe bid. Number one, he's a low HP captain. Give or take, you know, it's not really that big of a deal considering his multipliers are so ridiculous, but it is something to state. He is a low HP captain, but at least with his special, he provides damage reduction when you are below that certain threshold, so that is a big thumbs up. And another drawback is that with his captain ability, with his special ability, or with his sailors, none of those have any sort of effects that give you matching orbs in any way, shape, or form. So you have to heavily rely on your sailors and their special abilities to give you your matching orbs. Now, he is a powerhouse booster, so obviously Treasure Map Big Mom is like one of the best characters to use with this wipe bid, and that obviously makes a lot of sense. But outside of that, you know, you do have to really think about what characters you want to bring to make sure you are getting those matching orbs. And that's it, guys. Now we are moving on to the last tier of the video, which hasn't really changed for the last few months, which has actually been the tier 0 positioning. Now, these characters, as I said, have not really changed. We have version 2 Akainu, we have quick gear 4, which will hopefully change with Snake Man. It'll cross that off when we get Snake Man, and we'll get gear 4 Luffy here hopefully very soon, and Whitebeard and Marco. These three, the Trinity, man, these three characters just keep doing it, man. They just keep beating content over and over. I wouldn't say they're doing it easily, but they're still clearing content. And I mean, there's nothing really about these characters that I think is a very big drawback. The only real thing about these characters specifically with Akainu is you have to hit your 6 perfects. And people will say, oh, what about the barriers? Well, barrier penetration is a thing, and there are a lot of characters now that have barrier penetration, and Akainu abuses the heck out of barrier penetration. There's so many pieces of content where there have been barrier penetration, and if you just use your specials and you get a massive boost, you let your Akainus do the heavy lifting, and they can destroy enemies through barriers with himself alone. So I mean, that may be a drawback in a lot of people's opinions, but if you have your Akainu set up with the barrier penetration and you have the right characters, then Akainu gets through that stuff, which is cool. And the end of turn damage, we already know how OP that is. We've seen with the GARP challenge that came out originally on Global. Hopefully we get more GARP challenges in the future. It's been a while since our last release of GARP challenges, so that would be nice if they did that again. Gear 4, we already know how good he is. Universal type booster, lots of orbs. He's just the perfect unit, essentially. And then Whitebeard and Marco, again, still a very, very good unit with being a rainbow booster. Obviously helps a lot more if you have sign-in characters. But his special ability with lots of healing, health cut, can abuse version 1 lore to do 30% through barriers as well. Not much about Whitebeard and Marco that is a bad thing. And the fact that when you swap, you get a guaranteed recovery orb, the damage reduction, and the additional healing with the 2 captain effects. They're amazing. Whitebeard and Marco is so freaking good, yo. But that's it, guys. That's the full breakdown of my tier list for the month of May 2019. So if you guys have any gripes about this, or if you guys have a differing opinion about any of these characters, let me know down below in the comment section. But if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.